Let's see. So is that in the corner?
So up top where it says invite people.
I did. I invited her and then I typed in her email.
Okay, so there's a spot you can actually copy a link.
Got it. Okay.
And I think you're the only one with the capabilities of doing that.
Let me just quickly email her then. Oops. Come on. Well, that didn't work. Let me try something else. It won't let me copy the link. Share the link. Control C.
If I can copy this, it looks like.
Oh, got it.
I got it?
I think so. All right. All right. So we're studying the GenapSys. Is that how they said it?
Yeah, that's how I believe they said it. I'm sorry if I cough, guys. I'm going to keep my...
It was pretty good.
Okay.
All right.
I actually like this one.
Yeah, I'm with Becky. I think we studied this in another class or something similar. It sounded very familiar, but it might not have been the same company. All right, so it says, so far in this course, we have seen a few common threads and takeaways. Founders matter. Experience, passion, and vision shape the business and can make the difference between success and failure. Business plan at the founding stage of a company is a collection of hypotheses. In other words, guesses. Startups create value by systematically testing hypotheses and making changes to the plan when the test results indicate a need to change. Early tests tell us a lot about the viability of a business and where more information is needed. Previous cases and analyzed business models the founders had already chosen. Now we get to see a company at the moment of choice. We need to vote. Which business model option do you favor? The traditional strategy, razor and razor blades, or data analytics? We'll start with, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We're doing an order. I'm sorry.
I just go from the bottom of the screen. So we'll start with Mike. What's your vote?
Razor and razor blades.
Okay. Haley.
Now I have to make a decision. I'm not 100% sure. That's probably where I'm leaning towards, is razor and razor blades.
Okay. Becky.
Data analytics.
I was data analytic.
We usually agree, Michelle.
We do usually agree. All
Mike
right.
and I are on the same page too, so.
Yes. So now you need to tell me why did you vote the way you did with your razor and razor blades, Mike?
Mike, I think that the best option is to go for new markets.
Okay.
And, I mean, they're not upsetting the apple cart, you know, with their competitors. They're kind of sneaking up from behind. I think they'll end up getting the competitors' business anyway, but they're not just going out and knocking them flat. And I think the new markets just expands the, the number of people that will buy the thing and get into testing, genomic testing. So, I mean, that's basically why. Go for new ground. Okay.
Haley, why did you vote that way?
I agree with Mike. That's going for new ground is usually a safer bet. My thoughts were kind of on the same lines there too, about that they'll eventually, I think, be able to kind of get an edge in on the already existing market. So.
Okay. I was writing this down. I don't know if we're going to need it later, but you never know. All right, Becky, why did you go for data analytics?
I chose data analytics for a few reasons. The first reason is that I think it's more in line with the founder's own beliefs. He really wants to make a difference. He wants to change the world. He wants to use his education to reach more people. He wants to stop. He's had that experience where medical diagnoses or whatever didn't work for a personal experience with his. I don't remember the details on that. But so that's what he's really trying to do, is change that and reach the biggest amount of people. And if it works, the data analytics would end up in the end being the highest payout. So it would take a while to get there. He's going to have to find investors that would have a lot of money and have a lot of time. But in the long run, it would have the biggest payout, and it would have the biggest impact on the world at large, and the biggest impact to really do good for people. And then I didn't like the other two. The first one, I think it's going to be a problem with the traditional markets. Yeah, it's safe, but it's also, there's already too many competitors in there. And then the other one with the new markets, I thought that one might have, with the learnings we did in the spreadsheet this week, it might have too quick of a growth that would create problems. Because they talked about when it had a really high growth, then they really had a hard time recovering from that. And the other thing is that new market is risky too, right? Maybe they think that'd be a great market and it doesn't pan out. So to me, that one is risky, just like the data analytics, but the data analytics has the payoff of being really good for the world in general. Sorry, long.
That's why I was sitting.
No, I went the same way with you, Becky, with the data analytics. I was pronouncing that wrong. But it was the same reason. It seems like it could reach a lot more people. And that was his whole goal into going into that when he was challenged to do his PhD. And then he realized that he could make a big difference. And it was compared to the same way Google monitors your usage. And I mean, look where Google is. So I kind of compared that eventually it does help. Drug companies, there was something in the article about how certain drugs only reach a certain portion of people, but if they could tailor personal medicine to not only drugs and treatment, I mean, there could be cures for so many things as you just sit and if you had their DNA, you would know exactly what they would need, what dosage, or if it wouldn't even work for them at all, and then they wouldn't have to have all these trial things. So that's why I went with that one too. What are the number of potential customers with a traditional strategy?
Was there a hard number and I missed it?
It was 2,000,
No,
I believe.
I think we're just supposed to discuss it. I think that the potential customer, to me, my answer was it's very low.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many, like you said, there's so many competitors right now, and if you don't play your cards right, then all they'll do is it'll just become a price war, and eventually someone's going to lose. And it comes down, I think, to loyalty. So that was my thought on potential customers. Anybody else's thoughts?
I remember 2000 as well.
Yeah, I think there was a hard number in there.
Was there? I didn't have
Yes.
that highlighted. I couldn't find it. I read this over and over, so that's okay.
Let me see if I can find it. Yes, page 9.
Page 9. Oh, yeah, that's right. A market of a few thousand. Option number 1. Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thanks, Haley.
thanks for backing me up there, Mike.
And then which customers would be expected to pay for the product?
For which one?
All of them.
It just says specifically for each alternative, discuss the following: number of potential customers, and that would be for option 1. And then option 2, or I'm sorry, it says which customers would be expected to pay for the product, which option where the customers would have to pay for the product. And that I think was option 1 and 2. Wasn't option 3 a lease? You could lease?
No, they could buy or lease. It was $3,000 or lease for $2,000.
Yeah, and I was looking at the traditional being the existing companies that were doing the genome testing now, whereas the blades or the razor blade was 500,000 potential customers in the new market, and those were like biotech and different areas of interest.
Okay. So which option would the customers be expected? All of them?
Sorry, repeat the
First
question.
two, but maybe not necessarily the third one.
The third one is paid. You do pay for it, but it's more of like a cost type deal.
Yeah, it's kind of a different setup.
Yeah.
It's $3,000 you can buy it, or $2,000 you can lease it, and then you're paying for test cartridges at a minimum. You're more paying for the data that you.
Right. That's on page 11.
Yes. Middle paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah, the price set for the razor blade was 5,000.
Yeah, I did see that. Between 5,000 and 7,000. All right. Who were the competitors, and what would be their likely response? So the two competitors that I pulled out were Illumina and
Life Technologies.
I'm sorry, what?
Life Technologies.
Yes, thank you. Life Technologies. And what did they say would be their likely response? Which was the company that had a competitor come into the business and they kept lowering their price until the other one was basically bowed out? That was pretty. That's
what I feel like they do again, is they just
exactly
lower their price long enough, because they're already established. They can stand that lower price for a little while just to edge out the new competitor.
Right. And then
I didn't see that as a real threat, because the our company, I forget the name of the company now. Our company can lower the price so much that they could. I mean, they're going to win that price war.
And
or does these other companies just start establishing a lower cost deal?
Right.
But the machine was faster too, so the machine itself was better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think the competitors would try to do a price war, but the GenapSys machines seemed to be different enough that they could differentiate themselves from the competitors.
It also mentioned something about them, maybe trying to come out with like a deal. What page was that on?
Who coming out with the deal? Our company?
Their competitors being able to come out with a deal. It was talking about the same area, about when it was talking about them edging out, lowering their prices. I don't remember what page it was on. Sorry.
Was it when you're talking about that? Are you talking about who had the most similar machine?
No.
Was it when they edged them out?
Yeah, it was when they edged them out, and they says, well, or they could, even come up with some sort of deal for their, current customers. But I'm not finding that, and maybe I'm just making crap up.
Well, on page 9, it talked about the one company that tried to undercut a major increment on a price in the early 2010s, and they dropped their price below of the new company until it had been sufficiently marginalized, and then raised prices when the competitor was no longer a threat. Is that what you were thinking of?
No, it was after that a little bit, I believe, and it was talking about if they edged in on this one, it would give me a minute. Move on.
Okay. All right, so why don't we think about what else would be their likely responses of their competitors?
And maybe this is what Haley's talking about. It said that they might introduce the companies that they're already using the machines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they would already have machines. So why would they buy a new one? and their current people they have the machines with could start doing incentives to try to
Yeah, there we go. Incentives is the word I was talking about.
yeah. So the incumbents might start introducing incentives to stop customers from moving over to GenapSys.
What's that page?
Page 9.
I'm missing things.
So I think that's the problem with the traditional too, is
Oh,
that
here we
people who already are in the market already have the machine they want, and why would they buy a new one?
Exactly.
Yeah. Any other comments on that?
Yeah, they also mentioned existing research and development might require the older machines or something like the government funding.
Yeah, that even though they were slower, they still. I do remember that.
Yeah.
Most research centers relied on grants and government funding, which could be unreliable. Is that what I was thinking of?
Yeah, because it says the type of sequencing device an entity had in place could affect whether or not it received funding. So certain people would offer
Right.
them money on which machine they had.
Right.
Yeah.
So they did. Yeah, the incumbent companies did have that advantage.
Mhm.
Yeah. What was the founders' goals? We talked a little bit about that with our vote. What were their goals?
To change the
Change
world.
the world.
Change the world. That's right.
Right on, Meg.
Sorry, my all over me. What are the investors' goals?
Get their money.
Your money.
Make money.
Exactly. Make money.
But I think when you're talking about the investors' goals, you have to think about what kind of investors, right? So some investors want to give you a little bit of money and see a quick return, right? And those guys would not be interested in data analytics. Other investors would have a large amount of money and could wait a long time. So I think it also depends on what kind of investors can you actually find, and I didn't see anything in here about that.
Right. They just talked about, they need to find investors that want to go for the gold.
Right. Change the world.
I feel like I know this case a lot better than I've known the others.
It's better than last week.
To follow, I thought.
Oh, last week was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was, I don't know, I just found this one interesting. I don't know what it was about DNA, but
I think we all find DNA fascinating.
yeah.
All right, so using the Excel model we created before class, which was very difficult to understand, but I did enjoy the videos. If we increase the EBIAT compared to sales and hold everything else equal, the time to payback will...
Are we going down the line again?
I'll start with Becky on this other side of my screen this time.
Wait, say it again?
It says using the Excel model, basically if we increase EBIAT to sales and hold everything else equal, the time to payback is increased, decreased, or remains the same.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. I'll come back to you. Haley?
Okay, let me think this. Go to the smart person first. So we can
Mike?
answer.
Yeah, I doubled the EBIAT, whatever sales. I put 10% in there, and it looked like it paid off quicker. So that would mean it decreases the time.
Yes.
Yes,
That's what I have.
that's what I've got now. I just plugged it in.
Good. You guys are ahead of me.
My
Yeah.
computer, I had all this stuff up and ready to go, and right before my other meeting, I got home and I logged into the meeting, and my computer blue screened.
Ooh, nasty.
So now I'm like, get back into everything. I'm crap.
If the NOA sales increase, cash flow increases, decreases, or remains the same?
Where are you going to?
I was going to Becky again, but she has the look on her face that I don't think she can do.
Yeah, I looked at this spreadsheet 2 days ago, and so I'm having a hard time remembering it.
That's okay.
I only found it today. I didn't get a chance to go through it all. But
Well, I was looking at it
The
Saturday.
videos were not very helpful. They were just funny.
I voted decrease again.
I put decrease.
Decrease.
That's what I have. So, all right. Now I don't know about you, but that picture. Did you anyone go through the discussion questions? It says on the curve below, which segment represents the highest burn rate? I couldn't get the picture to download. It said I didn't have permission.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I posted something in the question board about that, and there was no answer. Just an hour ago. I checked an hour ago. There's no answer to my question.
Okay. So I don't know which segment represents the burn rate.
Yeah, I can tell you it's going to be the segment with the greatest slope.
Right, the slope down, right?
Yeah, in other words, the steeper
right.
dive.
That's what I was looking for, but it never downloaded, so okay. What strategies have we seen that flatten or lengthen the cash flow curve? Specifically, try to draw the cash flow curves for Dr. John's products, Rent the Runway, and Dropbox as they were described in the cases. Just make a rough guess as to the shapes of each of these cash flow curves. So, oh my gosh, this was very difficult for me. I don't know about anybody else. So if I were to think of the curve for Dr. John's products, I don't think his slope was going to be that steep. It was a smaller slope with a great incline.
I agree.
Like a fasting. So it was just little. Like a little check mark. That's the way I saw it. Anyone else?
Nike.
Try to draw. Oh, so, okay. I didn't look at the old cases, but.
Well, I don't think it was us to look. It was just what we learned from them because they said there was nothing specific. And we just had to make a rough guess as to the shapes of each of these cash flow curves.
Okay, I would say. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, yeah, I guess he has his product. He doesn't have a whole lot of debt, right? He didn't have a whole lot of debt.
Correct.
All right. Yeah. So I think it's going to just kind of go up and.
Just a little. Well, it would have a little tiny big ticket started, but I think right away he was able to build his cash flow or his FCF.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't remember. So do you agree on that, Haley?
Yeah.
Okay. So on Rent the Runway, what do you think the shape of this cash flow curve would be?
Well, now it depends on whether they borrowed their money.
That's true.
There's going to be a lot of down though, because remember they had such huge growth, right? And they kept wanting to buy more inventory and expand out and do all these things, and that takes a lot of money. And they had a lot more people working for them and a lot more overhead. So I think they were going to have a lot of down, and then eventually they'd go up, but it would take a while.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I put a lot of down on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They were in the spending mode, in the borrowing, and they had.
Spend.
I mean, they proved the concept, but they hadn't really shown the profit yet.
Right. And then Dropbox. I thought that was more of a flat line.
I wasn't sure on that one.
Yeah.
I thought of it more as a flat line. Just from what I remember, he didn't seem to have a lot of debt, and he just seemed to be steady. And remember, his deal was, should he expand? He was doing great the way he was, so should he change it? So I thought that was more of a, I don't remember him borrowing a lot of money for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Didn't he, what was that? Something popped in and then it popped out again. Never mind.
So
didn't he have problems with getting subscribers and stuff? I mean,
No, I thought his subscribing was good. It was from word of mouth.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He grew it from word of mouth. Oh, yeah, he gave up on all the analytics and he had tried all that stuff. And he said the best thing was word of mouth.
A lot of debt because he stopped paying. So I looked at it more of just a slight dip, but then it just kind of flatlined and just kept growing. That was what my curve would have looked like. I don't know. What do you think, Haley?
I'm following you there.
It looks like you
I
fell
didn't.
asleep.
I didn't get to this quick. Yeah, it's late.
So
I
I don't
didn't
know.
sleep last night.
Sorry. What do you think, Becky?
I think you're right.
That was a tough one. Just
Yeah,
trying
we
to think of that.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot into the financial stuff with Dropbox, so it was hard to remember that.
All right, what would happen to Dr. John's, which was the spin brush, if they had decided to build an independent company rather than get acquired?
They would have had to do major investment.
So what do you think they would have had to have done? The traditional, the razor blade, or the data? I think that was more of a traditional.
I think, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's
I think
a
if
new
you,
market for toothbrushes, right? We should all brush our teeth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what activities would John have had to do differently?
You would have had to hire more people.
I think he would have also had to do more research and development. He was having problems with the brush itself, which would have cost him a lot of money.
Which apparently it still has problems with.
But it's so cheap, nobody cares.
Exactly.
$6.
But I think before he would have figured that out, he would have spent a lot of money on that. He would have had to get more for that, which of course then goes back to what you said, Becky. He would have had to hire more people for that. So
yeah.
so the
what
cash
if-
flow, so the cash
Go
flow
ahead.
would have been flattened.
Well, it says what impact on the cash flow curve would these activities have? Would it have flattened or steepened,
Deepened.
shallow or deepened, increase or decrease the time to pay back?
It would have increased the time to pay back, and
Yeah,
it would have gone.
pay back.
You cut out on the second half of your statement.
It would have gone deeper because he would have gone into more debt.
Right. That's the way I saw it too. It would have gone deep.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah. All right. So the same for Rent the Runway. If the founders of Rent the Runway had been able to convince the dress designers to retain ownership of the dresses, what impact would that have had on RTR's cash flow curve? Oh,
They wouldn't have had to spend all that money on dresses.
right. So it would flatten or steepen. It would definitely steepen. And would it increase or decrease the time to pay back? It would. Yeah, it would. Yeah, I agree. And then what decisions did Drew Houston make in Dropbox that favorably impacted the cash flow curve? I think this goes back to why do we think that it was flatlined? And
He
I
got
think
rid of the Google Analytics or the
he did. He got
dropped
rid
his
of
advertising.
all the excess. He just relied on people loving the product and letting it do its work on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He just hoped people would love it and tell somebody else about it. So.
And he really didn't go seeking venture capitalists or anything to invest in his company. He kind of did it on his own.
Yeah.
Which that means the only person he'd have to pay back was himself. He didn't have to worry about others. So.
Right.
All right. Now let's look at the choices GenapSys has from cash flow standpoint. For each business model option under consideration, compare the following. What would be the net present value? If some of the options have similar NPVs, which is riskier, is it advisable to take an additional risk for a similar NPV? I didn't know how to figure that out.
Yeah, I didn't see. Is NPV on the charts?
That's what I was thinking. I don't see it.
I mean, how were we're supposed to just research what NPV, how to calculate NPV?
Okay, no, here it is. It's on the worksheet titled 3 Financing Implications. So
Okay.
the MPV for traditional strategy is $37,751. Razor is $35,908, and data analytics $49,821.
Providing you stick with the.
If you stick with the numbers that they had, if you didn't change their numbers.
So which one then do you think is riskier?
Riskier from what standpoint?
From the net present value, it says.
Well, the highest net present value is the data analytics, and the lowest is the razor and razor blades.
Right.
So I don't know how that corresponds to risk, because it seems like the data analytics was more risky, but would potentially be better.
I think that's where you had to play with the numbers in that one worksheet where you put the percentages of risk in and it changes the numbers.
I emailed our instructor and he said we didn't have to play with the numbers if we didn't want to.
Okay, good. Because I don't know what to do here. Like, I'm like, 1, 10.
Yeah. I said, are we supposed to change the numbers? And if so, can you help me know what we need to do to change them and how to make those guesses? And he said, no need to change them if you don't want to.
Okay. So is it advisable to take additional risks for a similar NPV? So the most similar ones are traditional and razor.
Mm-hmm.
So do you take additional risks to get
say,
those numbers to change?
I would say no. Not
Yeah,
for
we'll take more risks to get the same value.
Exactly.
Yeah, why would you? Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. How will GenapSys raise funds to support each option? So they did.
That's what I want to know.
Well, I thought that they talked about that a little bit.
Did I miss that?
Well, it said, okay, so on page 3, it first talked about the costs on how sequencing costs have plummeted in the 21st century, but machine costs remain high, as did costs for genetic tests. So how would they raise funds to support each option? I think that they would have to find people to invest that were, my idea was that we're on the same page for the cause. I think he'd have a great, if he found people that had the similar idea of changing medicine and the way people look at DNA, I think he could find people to raise money with. I think if he just went to businesses and said, this is a great idea, my machines are going to be low cost and they're going to take less time, I don't know if he would find as many people. I think they have to have the similar interests, is what I put.
I agree.
Is it just me or is Michelle sounding robotic?
Robotic. Yeah, the audio was very strange.
Sorry about that.
Mechanical.
So that was for the data analytics. That's how you would have to raise money for that. But for the traditional option, I didn't. Does someone have an idea of how he'd raise money for that?
Probably just a traditional way with venture capitalists, but it wouldn't be as much of finding the right people.
Good. How about Mike? You voted for the razor or razor blade theory. How would he raise money for that?
I don't know how venture capitalism works. I don't know how.
But yeah, we're in this class all together.
Finance. Yeah, I mean, is it somewhere in this awesome spreadsheet, or I mean,
I don't think so.
Information?
No.
Well, I think that if he on page 9 it talks about the theory and how much it would cost to bring in a high volume of customers. I think he'd have to look for people in the new market, such as people that are interested in research.
I think we need to hook them up with that case we read last week. Have them expand their market out to biotech and then hook him up with them for the money.
Yeah.
Oh, good idea, Becky.
That
I think that with the second one, if that's the customer target they're looking for, then that would have to be the people that have that same interest.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all comes down to you have to have similar interests or people aren't going to give you money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then I mean, I'm looking at the payback. I mean, there's a big long dip in the razor and blade chart. I mean, where it's going for 1, 2, maybe even 3 years, where it's just kind of flat and low before it ever rises up. So I guess you need patient people there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is any option clearly more attractive to investors out of the 3 options?
I think the first and the third one would be. I mean, the first one's got that nice steady slope, so a traditional investor would probably like it, that it was negative only for a short period of time and then grew. But I think investors that are looking for a higher payout are going to like the data strategy one because it goes up much higher than the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I just looked at even though the line goes as high. I just realized that the numbers are less. Like on the razor and blade, it only goes to 15. Whereas on the traditional, it's almost up to 40. And on the data, it's up to 60. Yep. I didn't even notice that. I was only looking at the curve itself without looking at the numbers.
You got anything, Haley?
I'm just still fence sitting.
All right.
One minute I lean for the razor and blade, and the next I'm like, well, data strategy. Let's go home. Go home or.
All right. So it says for each option, how much of the company will the founders have to give up to reach their goal?
Can you say that again? The breakup is hard to hear you.
For each option, how much of the company will the founders have to give up to reach the goal?
Why do they have to give up any of the company?
Well, because investors ask for equity. You know, they ask for a share of ownership. In other words, if you give somebody money, then you own part of their company.
I guess it depends on the investors then, right? And the deals they set up with them.
Yeah, I don't know where you get that information.
I didn't know.
Talking about, maybe they're talking, more about years. How many years are they going to have to give up before they start making anything? I don't know.
Like a Shark Tank.
Yeah.
All right, we're passing on that.
Oh, they have to give up. Oh, yeah, it might not be just ownership. I don't know.
I like Haley. I like your thinking, Haley. Maybe it was just the years before they can start paying back.
Because that's the only thing I can really see right now, where we don't have any information about. Okay, are they taking in, $2 billion from their investors to be able to get this going? Because what's their burn rate? 700,000 or something?
Yeah. So, put yourself in the shoes of the two guys that I'm not going to pronounce their name.
I was just calling them E and R.
There you go.
And the investors. You must decide as a group which business model you will choose. Be ready to explain this choice in your post-discussion write-up.
So, Mike and Haley, did we convince you to go with data strategy?
I say I'm fence sitting, so I'll go with data.
Oh, you always sit on the fence.
I have legitimate reasons why I'm on the fence this time.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the payoff is definitely, it's like 4 times the razor blade, and it's almost twice or a little bit less than twice for the traditional.
Mike, also look at the fact that their FCF or whatever it is really only very slightly different between the razor blade and the data. There's like a year difference.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, well, I definitely don't like the traditional, so I'm not going there.
No, that one's out. We're
yeah. I don't care. I mean, I'll go. I want to change the world too. I want them to change the world, But
all right. So our ranking is the payoff is greater than the other 2 options,
and we want to change the world.
Okay, and then I'm going to put the time and payoff is slightly different, but it doesn't seem to have too much of an effect. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time is different, but it's only different by a year.
Your post-discussion thing.
Sorry, what?
Oh, we forgot to say when we started voting and all that. Do we still have to record that time?
I don't know. I know we have it, but I don't know.
I don't think we need to do it. I don't know.
Is this the summary?
Well, it's just our last. It's just a vote. It says you have to write this and explain your choice in your post-discussion write-up. So I'm going to write it down and then I'll just put it in the email.
Here's a paper. We're going to.
Thank you. And then what was the last thing?
Wait, you mean
What was the last thing? Oh, we want to change the world.
you're
Yeah, we
going
wanna
to
change the
email?
world.
You're going to email the email so that we just have to cut and paste and all cut and paste the same thing? Oh, okay, that's great.
Sounds good.
Fantastic.
Okay, so I put on here that we voted for data analytics because the payoff is greater than the other two options. The time and payoff is slightly different, but it didn't seem to make a huge difference.
They're
And then we want
accomplishing their goals. They're
we
accomplishing
want
their
to change
goals.
the world
Yeah.
by accomplishing the founder's goals.
Yep.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I just have I'm adverse to giving something away, basically. Here they had this great, they created this great thing, and then they're like, oh, let's just give it away, and then we'll just deal with the data. We'll make money on the data. It just seems
That's another freemium case right there, isn't it?
it's the freemium.
That is a
Yeah.
I guess it is in a way, you're right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're still paying for it, sort of, but a very low cost.
all right. So are we supposed to talk about the second one, the how to write a case-based essay?
I don't think so. There wasn't any discussion questions for that one.
Okay.
Good, because I haven't read it yet.
You got off the hook. Both
Well,
Becky.
you have to reanalyze Rent the Runway.
Oh, to answer
Well,
that.
what I love that the instructions, it's 15 pages for that how to write a case analysis write-up, but we're supposed to be less than 1,500 words. So it takes them 15 pages to tell us how to write 1,500 words.
Yes.
I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
I thought the how to write a case study was the situation, the questions, the
That's
proof.
our case write-up. That's a case write-up, which we've been doing. This is more of, we've analyzed the case and we've decided, and this is what we should do, and we're now going to convince the world that this is what should happen.
So if you want, I can go through the questions really quick, and you could, if you want,
Which questions?
the Rent the Runway that we should be writing. It's up to you.
Sorry, what? You're cutting in and out on my end.
I said I can quickly go over the questions if you want to hear what they are, so you know what to expect.
I have
Questions for
What you're gonna answer in your new essay for Rent the Runway.
Are you going to read?
Oh, we're writing a new essay.
I have the prep questions.
No, this is the case-based essay thing that we have to do.
I didn't get that yet.
Okay, so I'll just quickly go through them. It says, is the Rent the Runway business validated?
Oh, that's the prep questions. I put it down as the prep questions. Okay.
What evidence do you
Condon
have
proof.
to support your response? What elements of the business model have yet to be validated? It's going to be tough. What are the keys to success in this business, and how well is your company doing on the activities that will lead to future success? Will you raise money now or wait? What are the pros and cons of raising money now versus waiting? What are the founder's objectives and goals? Be very specific. What action should you take to achieve your goals? Again, be very specific. Give me short, medium, and long-term actions. What is the top priority? If the business model is not validated, what should you do to validate it? If the business model is validated, what should your next step be? Tell me the major risk to your plan. What can go wrong? Why would it go wrong? What will you do to prevent or minimize the impact? You will likely want to create 1 to 2 original exhibits of your own to support your position on the questions. Do not recreate exhibits from the case. Instead, refer to the case exhibits in your writing. Be sure to tell me what information you expect me to get from the exhibit.
Yeah, I saw that all as more of the individual assignment, that we didn't need to discuss it.
Yeah. So just good luck. There's some questions to think about, Haley and Mike, if you haven't read it.
Oh yeah, I read them. I put all the questions on a Word doc and I work from there.
Yeah. So, and then I think we answered all the other questions from the other group discussions.
Yep.
Because it pretty much answered them in the other ones. So, yeah. So I think this was it. This was nice because we only had to discuss one case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle and Becky got off easy, man.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
my-
who's up next? Becky's up again.
Becky's
Yeah.
up again.
Becky's up again.
all right.
All right. So I will post the link and we will put our final vote. And then I'll just type in the Gmail why we voted for the data so we can all copy and paste it. Because if we all voted the same, we all have to have the same reasons.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I will do that. So I will get that done and hopefully post it by the end of the night.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Michelle.
Have a good week, guys.
Okay, good night.
Bye.
Right.